Hi, all, and welcome to our 50-minute coffee chat. That's a short time for us. I mean, can we do that? 15 minutes? Let's see. I'm scared. We
We
can't, we
can
can't
we can
like,
talk.
yeah, we can talk, but we need to be strict this time. I'm Nilüfer Piirainen, head of customer training and enablement here at HappyOrNot, and I'm joined by my lovely colleague, Jamie Lundy.
Yep. I'm Jamie, the customer training and enablement manager at Happy or Not. I have my coffee ready to go with my favorite coffee
Ah,
mug.
Central Perk. Yep,
Yep.
yep.
So, Friends fan
I
here.
Yeah, I
Friends.
have no idea how many times I've watched that show, but it's a lot. Yeah, never
You
goes out
can't
of
you can't get enough.
my favorite list. Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, we're all friends. It's just a simple coffee chat with friends we're having here. So
And you need the coffee, right? It's
mhm.
pretty early morning for you because you're in Orlando,
Yep. I'm
Florida.
in
Yeah,
Orlando. You're in Finland. So we've
I'm
got
in
like
Finland.
coffee and then I don't know, what do you have at night?
Tea
Yeah.
mostly, sometimes. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Today we want to talk about something that I would say we see somewhat often in our roles. We onboard customers, and these are a lot of the things that we talk with them. So, feedback programs that start with very good intentions. You're excited to let's get the device out there and capture feedback, but then they don't end up leading to much action. And it's not because there's a lack of data. We know that when you put a device out there, usually you start to get a good amount of feedback, and yeah, but it actually is because there's no clear plan for how that data will be used, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think today what we wanted to share with you guys, marketing told us to pick three things. So
Hmm.
we are doing three practical recommendations to help you guys
Only
build
three.
a
Yep.
program. Yes, because we want it to be quick. We know you guys are busy, but
Yeah.
this is important info. So we have three really practical things that you guys can use for your feedback program. Oh, quick
Are we
note.
recording? Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
just quick note. So we are recording this, you guys. So you can drop questions in the chat, and then we'll review those afterwards. And
Yep.
then, of course, if you need to go back and watch this recording, it'll be there for you.
Great. So here's the thing, I think you and I both can agree that the strongest feedback programs actually start before launch day, not when the feedback device goes live, but
Yeah.
way before that, or not way before, but a good amount of time before
Mhm.
that. Um, because the device on its own just doesn't create the action, and
Right.
data just doesn't magically turn into improvements just because it exists, although
Mhm.
maybe sometimes we would wish that it did that. So getting the basics clear up front is super important. Why are we doing this? You know, what are we trying to improve? If that is really fuzzy, I think there's a high chance that the whole program usually is too a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, we need to see that difference between, hey, we installed the devices rather
yeah,
than we launched a feedback program, because those are two
exactly.
very different things. Just installing the devices, you have to do something with that. So
Yeah,
I always say you get what's the saying? You get out of it what you put into it.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's what this is too. You're going to get more out of it if you are putting that into it. That communication
exactly.
around it.
Yep,
Talking to your staff, even talking to your customers. Having that communication out there, what you're using it for, and that it's there for them, so that they can improve the service for them. So just
exactly.
communication is key.
And then who's reviewing the feedback? I mean, do you get questions when you onboard customers? Do you get questions like, okay, so what should we do? What kind of a team should we have?
Absolutely.
Because that's a pretty important part of the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, ownership. Who is
Hmm.
going to own that? So is it going to be multiple people? Is it going to be one person? So who is going to have ownership of this? And it's not that it's going to be super time consuming either. It can be
Yeah,
just a quick check each day to see how they're doing.
yeah.
So it
Just
doesn't
as
have
long
to
as
be extra work.
Yeah, just as long as there's the rhythm, whatever
Mhm.
fits your environment, but make sure that there is some kind of a cadence
Right.
to it, and then stick to it, right? So don't
Exactly.
get excited and do that for a few weeks and then forget about it. You have to be really consistent with it to make it
Yes.
really
Consistency
successful.
is key. That's another thing I
Mhm.
say. Consistency is key with this. You
Yep,
have to be consistent, have that regular cadence and,
yep,
that rhythm for sure.
exactly. Um, Finally, how you really frame the rollout also matters. It shouldn't feel like, I always say this to people, this is one of the reasons why it's so important to communicate about this program to your employees before you start, because you don't want anybody to think, am I being monitored somehow? What
Right.
does this mean for me? You don't want to create anything like that. So it should feel like we're learning together, we're improving together. That's why we're starting this program, right?
Right. It's not a gotcha.
Yeah,
It's just meant to improve overall. You know?
exactly. Yeah. And I think when all of these pieces are in place, the program has a much better chance of actually working and being successful. Um, do you want to share maybe a few examples of what this looks like when it's done really well, just to wrap it up?
Yeah,
Part one.
absolutely. Yeah, I'll just share one. I think just the strongest teams, don't put that out there and hope for the best. They've already explained the why. They've already know what they want to improve.
Hmm.
They know what they're going to do with the feedback so that
Yeah.
when it starts coming in, no one's guessing what to do with it. So like having that framework at the beginning, I think is the most important
Yeah.
part. Mm. All right. I think I would also like to talk about, making the launch visible. So what
Mm,
goes along with this is also building the habit of reviewing the results fast, but making sure that launch is visible for everyone. So a good launch is, getting attention, keeps that routine in the program alive. So it can be something as simple as using posters or signage around if it's a physical device, or it can be putting balloons on the physical device, simple as that. We also have templates and things that we can use or that you can use from our own help site to make it very simple for you.
yeah, you don't have to kind of start from scratch and create
Mhm.
everything yourself. We know it can be, you know, hard, you're tight on resources, so we want to make it as easy for you as possible to launch this program as well and support you along the way. So we have a lot of resources available, both for customer and employee experience. So make
Yeah.
sure to utilize all of those resources.
And speaking of customer and employee experience, thinking about placement is important too, making
Hmm.
sure it's in the right location.
Yeah,
Uh,
don't put it to the darkest corner that you can
right.
find, because your visitors won't find it. So, yeah,
Right. And then thinking about that question too. So if you're asking about, for example, the taste of food, you're not going to place the device where they're paying for it and they haven't eaten yet. So,
exactly.
just think about the right location for what you're asking as well.
Yeah, and make sure your question is something that speaks to as many of your visitors and customers as possible so that they will have an opinion about whatever it is that you're asking, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Nilu, is there maybe something that you want to share about
Mm,
what helps teams turn that into a real habit, when that
yeah.
feedback is coming in?
Yeah, a lot of it all obviously we talked about
Mhm.
already, but I think it's just turning from that launch excitement into a simple routine
Mhm.
fast. That's maybe the key here that we want to emphasize on, and use the resources that we offer or create your own, whatever works for you. Just know that we got your back. If you need any material, we have a lot of them, and you can brand them and customize them to your needs. Um, I think the habit really sticks when feedback becomes a part of everyday conversations. So that's super important and something you want to put a little bit of work in to when you're starting out. Really think about that, how to make it a part of your operations.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, making sure that you talk about the feedback with your team, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, whatever the cadence is. Make sure you do it and stick to it.
Right. I think that's one of the first things. Create that buzz around
Yeah,
it. Those posters, those visuals, that staff encouragement, make sure you're doing those reviews and those check-ins and that
yeah,
daily quick check, the huddles, and that rhythm. So I think all of those combined in one is going to make it much more successful.
Exactly. Super fun to talk about these things, by the way, but I think we have to go to our
Yes.
third and final piece that we want to talk to you about today. Show people that you're actually listening, and then keep the results visible for your visitors, for your customers.
Mhm.
Shouldn't be like a one-off campaign, because if your people, if your feedback givers take the time to share their input, they need to see that it actually leads somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we could do something or you could do something as simple as a poster that we have that we can create for you, which is, what percentage of your feedback was positive
Yep.
within a certain time range. You can put the date right there on the poster and how many responses came in. So this is just a really easy, quick way to share out with your customers and really with your employees on what people are saying, how happy are people. So that's just
Yeah.
one easy way to do that.
Exactly. And then if you're collecting open feedback, the kind of "you said, we did" approach is also really powerful. I know a lot of our customers are doing that and have received great feedback
Yes.
for making it visible that way. So there are different ways that you can do it. It's just important that you do it, and yeah, share the feedback results.
Absolutely. With that, you
Um,
said we did. I just think that's really, really important too, if you are collecting that open feedback. Because, if 50 people are saying that wait times are too long and you are saying
mhm,
that, hey, you guys said the wait time was too long, so we put more employees on the floor during certain times. If you were one of
yeah.
those 50 people that said that, then in your mind, you're like, oh, well, they're listening to me. Like, that's what I said.
Exactly.
So,
And what happens is that, next time you come in,
yep,
you're encouraged to leave more feedback whenever
absolutely.
you visit. So it's
Mhm.
it's a it's a cycle that you want to create, basically,
Yes.
when you operate this way.
Yep.
Um, any other simple ways teams can show that they're actually listening, if you want to sum that up, Jamie?
Maybe just like recognition and encouragement as well.
Yeah.
For employees. So maybe, managers taking a look at the feedback and the comments and maybe in team huddles, letting their employees know what people are saying. If someone said, hey, Jane was amazing help today. And,
You want to share
we're
that
looking back.
with
So
Jane,
yeah,
right?
it really boosts morale
Yeah.
for things like that. So I think, sharing that praise is also really helpful and important as
And
well.
it's a two-way street, really, sharing the feedback results, not just externally, but also internally.
Right. Right.
Super important. All right, I think we're coming to the end of our lovely
Yes.
discussion. Always fun talking to you, Jamie. If there's one thing to take away from this chat, I think it's this. So, feedback programs don't fail because of lack of data. They fail because there's no clear plan to
Yes.
action on it.
Yeah. Yep. So 3 things to focus on. 1, define the program before you launch. 2, make sure that launch is visible. Build that habit around reviewing those results. And 3, show your team and your customers that you're listening and acting upon that. So, what are you
Yeah.
doing with that feedback? Now that it's coming in, what are we doing with it? So, that's an important part as well.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us live. If you want to learn more about how organizations use real-time microfeedback to drive operational improvements, you can connect with us here on LinkedIn. Feel free to message us with questions. We appreciate your time, and you'll also be able to access the recording on the LinkedIn event page afterwards. Have a great rest of the day, everyone.
Thanks,
And watch Friends.
everyone.
Watch Friends. Yeah.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Bye.